There's a truth modern society refuses to accept. The more we try to control our lives, the more they slip through our fingers like water. Have you ever noticed how your anxiety grows precisely at the moments when you're trying your hardest to be certain of everything? How does your insomnia intensify when you need sleep the most? How does your existential emptiness deepens precisely when you accumulate more external achievements? 2,500 years ago, a man named Lao Tzu observed this same human contradiction and left a legacy that can still completely transform your relationship with modern suffering. His 10 timeless lessons aren't just ancient philosophy, they're precise antidotes to the pains you carry now. The procrastination that sabotages your dreams, the indiscipline that erodes your self-esteem, the burnout that robs you of vitality, and that constant feeling of being lost in a world that demands more than you can give. Here at Axiom Sage, we explore ancient Eastern wisdom to transform your mind and spirit, connecting ancient teachings with the most pressing dilemmas of contemporary life. This isn't just another superficial self-help video. It's a profound encounter with truths that can completely reorient your existence, if you're willing to question everything you believe about strength, control, and happiness. The 10 timeless lessons from Lao Tzu you'll discover today don't just explain why you feel overwhelmed. They offer a practical, transformative path to finding genuine peace amid modern chaos. And there's a specific revelation about the nature of emptiness that will forever change how you interpret your moments of loneliness and uncertainty. But this discovery will only make sense once we understand why our current approach to life is doomed to failure. Imagine for a moment that you're a modern traveler, walking down a dusty road, carrying an overly heavy backpack. Inside it are all your worries, unanswered messages, mounting deadlines, the expectations others have placed on you, the dreams you've put off, and that constant guilt of not doing enough. With each step, the weight increases. Your breathing becomes more labored. Your shoulders ache. But you keep walking because you believe that's what's expected of you. Suddenly, on the side of the road, you come across an elderly man sitting under a tree. His eyes reflect a serenity you haven't felt in years. He's not checking his phone, planning his next move, or worrying about schedules. He's simply present, as if he knows something you've missed along the way. This man is Lao Tzu, and what he has to say could change everything. You don't have to pretend you're fine. The truth is, modern life has created a specific kind of suffering our ancestors never knew. You wake up anxious, check notifications before even brushing your teeth, spend the day reacting to external demands, and go to sleep with your mind racing, thinking about everything you couldn't solve. This vicious cycle of constant hyperactivity is draining you in ways that go far beyond physical fatigue. It's eroding your ability to feel genuine joy, to form deep connections, to simply exist without the artificial urgency society has implanted in you. The procrastination you feel isn't laziness. It's your psyche defending itself against a system that demands constant productivity without offering real purpose. Your indiscipline isn't a character flaw. It's the natural result of trying to maintain unsustainable standards. Your burnout isn't weakness. It's the inevitable consequence of living out of alignment with the natural rhythms of existence. And that emptiness you feel, even when you're busy, isn't inexplicable depression. It's your soul signaling that there's something fundamentally wrong with the way you're living. But there's a peculiar story about emptiness itself that Lao Tzu told. A parable about a common object we all use daily, but whose true value remains invisible to most. When you understand this metaphor, everything about how you interpret the difficult moments in your life will change. I'll save this revelation for later, but I can guarantee it will completely reshape your relationship with loneliness, uncertainty, and even what you now call failure. Here's the first truth no one wants to admit. Everything you've been taught about success and happiness is fundamentally wrong. Modern society has built a system based on a lie so profound that you've probably never questioned its validity. That lie is simple. More effort always yields better results. Stop for a moment and observe your own experience. How many times have you tried harder and achieved less? How many times have you tried to force a situation and it simply crumbled? How many times has your anxiety spiked just when you were most dedicated to controlling it? How many times have you worked to exhaustion, only to find that your actual productivity has diminished? This is no coincidence. It's a natural law that our culture refuses to accept. Lao Tzu observed that nature operates under principles completely opposite to those preached by our society. Water, the softest element on earth, can topple mountains. Flexible bamboo survives storms that destroy rigid oaks. The empty space within a bowl is what makes it useful, not the solid clay. The breath that nourishes your life occurs in the pause between inhaling and exhaling, not in the constant effort to fill your lungs. But we've learned the opposite. We've learned that flexibility is weakness, that stopping is laziness, that not having clear goals is failure, that moments of emptiness are a waste of time. We've built our entire lives on the belief that we need to become tougher, more focused, more productive, more resilient, and then we wonder why we feel broken inside. The truth is, you're trying to win a game whose rules were created to keep you in a constant state of dissatisfaction. Think about it. If you truly achieved lasting peace, you'd stop consuming quick fixes. If you found genuine contentment, you'd no longer be an ideal client for the desire economy. If you learned to flow with life instead of fighting it, you'd no longer need coaches, endless therapies, anxiety medications, or any product that promises to fix you. The system needs you to believe you're broken to keep selling fixes. It needs you to believe that happiness always lies in the next goal, the next achievement, the next relationship, the next job, the next external change. Because the moment you understand that you already possess everything you need to find peace, the moment you stop seeking outside what can only be found within, you become economically useless to an entire system built on your constant dissatisfaction. Lao Tzu taught something revolutionary. True strength comes not from rigidity, but from flexibility. Real peace arises not from control, but from accepting the natural flow of existence. Wisdom is not about accumulating more knowledge, but about discarding the illusions that keep you trapped in cycles of unnecessary suffering. And here's the part that may sound contradictory. Sometimes, the most powerful action you can take is to stop acting. This doesn't mean becoming passive or lazy. It means learning the difference between forced action and aligned action, between compulsive movement and conscious movement, between doing something because you believe you should and doing something because it flows naturally from your deepest understanding. It's about discovering that there is a completely different way of living, one our ancestors knew, but which we have lost amid the noise of modernity. If what I'm sharing is already making you question some of the certainties you had about how life should work, subscribe to the channel now, because what comes next will further challenge your fundamental paradigms about success, discipline, and personal transformation. Now we come to the heart of Lao Tzu's wisdom, the 10 eternal lessons that can completely transform your life experience. But I want you to understand something fundamental before we explore each of them. These are not techniques for becoming more productive or strategies for achieving external goals. They are revelations about the very nature of existence, truths that, once understood, automatically alter how you relate to everything around you. The first eternal lesson: flexibility beats strength. Lao Tzu said that what is hard breaks, but what is soft remains. Observe the water flowing around a rock. It doesn't fight the obstacle, doesn't try to push it aside, doesn't get frustrated by having to change direction. It simply flows around and continues on its way. Over time, this same gentle water carves entire canyons through the hardest rock. Your mental rigidity is creating the burnout you feel. Every time you refuse to adapt your expectations to the current reality, every time you insist on forcing a situation that is naturally flowing in a different direction, you are creating unnecessary friction in your life. Neuroscience confirms what Lao Tzu intuited millennia ago. Cognitive flexibility not only prolongs our emotional resilience, but it is what allows the brain to regenerate and find creative solutions to complex problems. The second eternal lesson: control is an illusion. The anxiety that erodes your inner peace stems from an impossible attempt to control the uncontrollable. Lao Tzu observed that those who try to rule the world ruin it. Think about how many hours a day you spend trying to predict the future, manipulate outcomes, or ensure things happen exactly as you imagined. This wasted energy could be channeled into what is truly within your control: your reactions, your choices in the present moment, your inner peace. The liberating revelation is simple. True peace comes from letting go, not holding on. I'm not suggesting you become passive or irresponsible. I'm talking about discerning between what you can influence and what is beyond your reach, and channeling all your energy into the former while serenely surrendering to the latter. The third eternal lesson: the power of emptiness. Here we come to that revelation about emptiness I promised at the beginning. Lao Tzu taught that a bowl is useful not because of the solid clay, but because of the empty space within it. A house is not habitable because of its walls, but because of the empty rooms between them. Your lungs function not because of the fabric, but because of the space that allows air to enter. Our modern culture is terrified of emptiness. We fill every moment of silence with screens, music, conversations, activities, anything to escape the confrontation with our own thoughts. But it is precisely in this empty space that creativity is born, intuition manifests, and wisdom emerges. This constant escape from silence is an escape from oneself. Here's a practical experiment that can transform your relationship with anxiety. 3 minutes a day of sitting in complete silence, without any goal. Don't try to meditate, don't try to calm down, don't try to achieve any special state. Simply sit and train your heart to bear the emptiness. Over time, you'll discover that this emptiness isn't the absence of something. It's the presence of everything. The fourth eternal lesson: go with the natural flow. The resistance you offer to life is the true cause of your suffering. Lao Tzu observed that the river never forces its way. It simply follows the course nature provides, always finding the path of least resistance. This doesn't mean avoiding challenges or responsibilities. It means stopping fighting the present reality and starting to work with it. Spiritual neuroscience confirms that when we live in harmony with the natural rhythms of existence, our nervous system dramatically reduces chronic stress activation. Your body literally regenerates when you stop pushing and start flowing. The fifth eternal lesson: the discipline of bamboo. This is where many people get confused about Lao Tzu's teachings. Flexibility doesn't mean a lack of discipline. Bamboo is flexible in the wind but deeply rooted in the earth. True discipline isn't compulsive rigidity, it's adaptive constancy. It's the ability to maintain your core values while adjusting to life's changing circumstances. Gu Hong, the Taoist alchemist, understood that true spiritual alchemy is not about hardening the mind against the world, but about continually refining it through conscious experience. Authentic discipline arises naturally when you align your actions with your deepest understanding, not when you force behaviors through willpower. Let's pause for a moment and return to that weary traveler we met at the beginning of the journey. He's now sitting beside Lao Tzu under the tree, and for the first time in years, he's not watching his watch. He's not planning his next move. He's not worrying about what he left behind or anxious about what lies ahead. He's simply present, and in that simple presence, something extraordinary is happening. He's beginning to remember who he truly is, beneath all the layers of artificial urgency and external expectations. There is an ancient Taoist parable about a farmer whose horse ran away. His neighbors came to console him. "What terrible bad luck!" He calmly replied, "Perhaps." The next day, the horse returned, bringing a herd of wild horses. The neighbors exclaimed, What wonderful luck! Again he said, "Perhaps." His son tried to tame one of the wild horses, fell, and broke his leg. "What a tragedy!" the neighbors said. "Perhaps," he repeated. A week later, soldiers passed through the village recruiting young men for war, but they dismissed his son because of his broken leg. "What a blessing!" the neighbors cried. And he smiled. "Perhaps." This story carries a profound truth about the nature of existence that can completely revolutionize how you experience life's ups and downs. Most people live on a constant emotional roller coaster, celebrating positive events and despairing over negative ones, without realizing that this very division between good and bad is what creates unnecessary suffering. Lao Tzu understood that life flows in natural cycles, like the seasons. Resisting winter doesn't make spring come any faster. Trying to hold back summer doesn't prevent the arrival of autumn. There is profound wisdom in recognizing that both periods of expansion and periods of contraction are necessary for genuine growth. But there's something even deeper here that most superficial interpretations of Taoism completely miss. It's not just about passively accepting whatever happens. It's about developing a completely different way of perceiving reality, one that recognizes that what you call problems may be precisely the catalysts you need for your deeper evolution. And here I'm going to share something that will forever change how you interpret difficult periods in your life, an understanding of the transformative nature of what appears empty but is actually filled with infinite potential. This revelation is so counterintuitive that your initial mind may resist it, but once integrated, it will become an inexhaustible source of inner strength in any circumstance. Now we enter the realm of true transformation, where Lao Tzu's lessons delve deeper to reveal aspects of existence few dare explore. If the first 5 lessons planted seeds of understanding, these next 5 will make those seeds germinate into lived wisdom. The 6th eternal lesson: simplicity as an antidote to chaos. Lao Tzu said, "I have only 3 things to teach: simplicity, patience, and compassion." In a world that bombards you with thousands of daily choices, hundreds of conflicting goals, and a constant pressure to optimize every aspect of your existence, this radical simplicity feels almost subversive. Take an honest look at your current life. How many apps do you have on your phone that promise to improve your productivity? How many goals have you set for this year? How many side projects are you trying to juggle? How many relationships do you maintain out of social obligation rather than genuine connection? The excess you've accumulated in objects, commitments, information, and even ambitions is not freeing you. It's trapping you in unnecessary complexity that drains your vital energy. The liberating revelation is that peace lies not in having more, but in needing less. I'm not talking about forced poverty or artificial deprivation. I'm talking about a conscious simplicity that emerges when you finally understand the difference between what truly nourishes your soul and what merely feeds your ego. When you stop trying to impress others and start living according to your deepest values, many unnecessary complications naturally simply dissolve. The 7th eternal lesson: the value of not acting. Wu Wei. This is perhaps the most misunderstood lesson in all of Taoism. Wu Wei is not passivity or laziness. It is action aligned with the natural rhythm of life. It's the difference between swimming against the current and swimming with it, between forcing a locked door and waiting for the moment when it naturally opens. Your culture glorifies toxic hyperproductivity as if being constantly busy is synonymous with living fully. But modern neuroscience confirms what Lao Tzu knew intuitively. Regular periods of doing nothing not only activate our creativity and regenerate our nervous system, but are essential for the brain to process experiences and form deeper neural connections. Wu Wei is learning to recognize when it's time to act and when it's time to wait. It's developing the sensitivity to perceive the natural rhythms of situations and the people around you. It's understanding that sometimes the wisest response to a complex problem isn't to find an immediate solution, but to create the inner space necessary for the solution to reveal itself naturally. The eighth eternal lesson: listen before you speak. Those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know, observed Lao Tzu. This is not a condemnation of communication, but a profound recognition that true wisdom often manifests itself in attentive silence, not in compulsive speech. Your anxiety often pushes you to justify, explain, defend, and react immediately to any situation that seems threatening. But notice what happens when you resist this automatic impulse. When you allow a space of silence before responding, when you truly listen not just to the other person's words, but to the intention behind them, when you honor your own feelings without needing to immediately verbalize or justify them. Silence isn't empty. It's an invisible force that allows inner chaos to naturally reorganize itself. It's in this space of deep listening that true wisdom emerges, not as thoughts you need to discover, but as an understanding that simply reveals itself when you stop searching so hard. The ninth eternal lesson: knowing yourself is the greatest victory. Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom, taught Lao Tzu. We live in an age of constant digital comparison, where your self-worth is often determined by external metrics. How many likes you get, how much money you make, how impressive your life looks on social media. But all that energy spent trying to understand how you compare to others is energy stolen from the only inquiry that really matters. Who you are when no one is looking, what truly brings meaning to your existence, what your deepest values are beyond the expectations others have placed on you. Genuine self-awareness is freedom from the endless race of trying to be someone you're not to impress people whose approval, deep down, doesn't even matter to you. It's the courage to face your inner shadows, not to punish yourself, but to consciously integrate them. It's recognizing that you are already complete exactly as you are, even as you continue to grow and evolve. The 10th eternal lesson: returning to the root is finding peace. Zhuangzi said that one who forgets external noise returns to the heart. Lao Tzu observed that returning is the movement of the Tao. This is not a regression or nostalgia for the past, but a conscious return to the simple, uncomplicated essence of existence. Think about the last time you felt truly at peace. I bet it wasn't during a moment of spectacular external achievement, or when you finally gained control of all the variables in your life. It was probably during a simple moment, watching a sunset, having a deep conversation with someone you love, walking in nature, or simply breathing consciously. Returning to the root is recognizing that what you're seeking through all this external complexity is already available right now, in this moment, through the simplest practical application possible. Being fully present with what is. Instead of seeking more stimuli, more experiences, more achievements, you learn to find fulfillment in the essentials. Breathing consciously, walking mindfully, being genuinely present with the people around you. Now that we've explored all 10 of Lao Tzu's eternal lessons, it's time to integrate them into a unified understanding that can transform not only how you think about life, but how you live it daily. Because here's a truth few want to face. Knowing these lessons intellectually and living them are two entirely different things. Let's quickly recap the fundamental pillars of Taoist wisdom. Flexibility overcomes force, control is illusion, emptiness has transformative power, flowing is wiser than resistance, true discipline is flexible like bamboo, simplicity dissolves chaos, inaction can be the most powerful action, listening reveals more than speaking, self-knowledge surpasses any external victory, and returning to the essential is finding lasting peace. Note the stark contrast between these principles and how most people actually live. Modern society has created an entire culture based on the exact opposites of these truths. Rigidity as strength, compulsive control, escape from emptiness through constant distractions, endurance as virtue, rigid and self-punishing discipline, complexity as a sign of sophistication, hyperactivity as productivity, talking more than listening, external validation as a measure of success, and the endless pursuit of more as the path to happiness. Now, be brutally honest with yourself. Which of these two approaches has brought you more real peace in your life? When you tried to force situations, control people, Fill every quiet moment with activities, resist natural change, discipline yourself through harsh self-criticism, complicate simple solutions, keep yourself constantly busy, talk without first understanding, seek external approval, and always accumulate more. Did these behaviors bring you the lasting serenity you sought? The honest answer is no. And not because you didn't try hard enough, but because you were applying principles that go against the fundamental nature of existence. It's like trying to swim against a powerful current. No matter how strong you are, you will eventually exhaust yourself. But here's what happens to those rare individuals who truly apply Lao Tzu's principles. They develop an inexplicable magnetic quality. People are naturally drawn to them, not because they're trying to impress anyone, but precisely because they've stopped trying. They solve complex problems with elegantly simple solutions. They maintain their inner peace even in chaotic situations. They make wise decisions because they've learned to listen to their intuition before consulting their anxieties. There's a Zen parable about two monks who come to a river where a young woman is trying to cross. The river is too deep for her. One of the monks carries her on his back to the other side and brings her to safety. Hours later, walking down the road, the second monk says, "How could you do this? We took a vow not to touch women." The first monk responds, "I left that woman on the other side of the river. Why are you still carrying her?" This story perfectly illustrates the difference between living by Lao Tzu's principles and being trapped by rigid rules and unnecessary worries. The first monk acted with natural compassion, did what needed to be done, and moved on without dwelling on what happened. The second monk remained trapped in his mental rigidity, carrying anxiety and judgment for hours after the event had passed. Which of the two monks have you been? The one who responds naturally to the needs of the present moment and then moves on, or the one who carries worries, judgments, and anxieties long after they have lost any practical use? Putting these lessons into practice doesn't require dramatic changes or complicated rituals. It can start with something as simple as consciously breathing for 3 minutes every morning before checking your phone. It can be practicing listening fully when someone is speaking to you, rather than already formulating your response. It can be asking yourself before every decision, am I acting out of fear and control, or out of wisdom and natural flow? What specific question from this reflection surprised you the most, or challenged any certainties you held about how to live? Share in the comments, because your insight may help others who are navigating the same awakening process. We now come to the moment of resolving that promise I made at the beginning about the transformative nature of emptiness, an understanding that will forever change how you interpret difficult times, loneliness, uncertainty, and even what you now call failure. Remember the metaphor of the bowl. Its usefulness comes not from the solid clay, but from the empty space within it. Now apply this to your own existence. The moments in your life that taught you the most, that transformed you the most, that connected you most with your authentic essence, were not the moments of spectacular external achievement, but the moments of apparent emptiness. It was in solitude that you discovered who you truly were beyond social masks. It was in uncertainty that you learned to trust in something greater than your controlling ego. It was in apparent failure that you were forced to abandon paths that weren't truly yours and find your authentic direction. It was in pain that you developed genuine compassion. It was in loss that you understood what truly mattered. The void our culture has taught you to fear and avoid is actually the sacred space where all true transformation takes place. It's in silence that you hear your inner voice. It's in pause that your creativity manifests. It's in surrender that your authentic strength emerges. It's in not knowing that your deepest wisdom reveals itself. This is the spiritual alchemy that Gu Hong understood. We don't turn lead into gold by denying the nature of lead, but by allowing lead to undergo the natural refinement process that reveals the gold that was always there. You don't need to become someone different to find peace. You need to stop resisting who you already are and allow your essential nature to manifest naturally. That weary traveler from the beginning of our journey finally understands why he was carrying such a heavy backpack. It wasn't because the problems in his life were truly so heavy, but because he was resisting the natural weight of human existence. When he stops fighting the fact that life includes uncertainty, change, loss, and challenges, the weight doesn't disappear. It transforms into something else entirely. He becomes like a river carrying sediment. Weight doesn't impede its flow, it enriches it. He becomes like a tree that withstands storms. Pressure doesn't break it, it deepens its roots. He discovers that true strength isn't the absence of difficulties, but the ability to dance with them instead of being paralyzed by them. The ultimate transformation Lao Tzu offers isn't a life without problems. It's a completely different way of relating to the inevitable problems of the human condition. It's discovering that you can be at peace even in uncertainty, that you can be strong even in vulnerability, that you can find meaning even in suffering, and that you can experience fulfillment even in simplicity. And here's the most radical invitation of all. You don't have to wait until you've perfectly mastered these 10 lessons to begin experiencing their benefits. The very act of sincerely applying them begins a profound transformation in how you experience every moment of your life. You can't miss the next videos on this channel, because each one will be a new layer of understanding that will deepen and expand the foundations we've laid today. There's a powerful tension I need to share with you before we end this journey. Most people who watch this video will never truly apply what they learn here. They'll feel inspired for a few days, perhaps share some insights with friends, but gradually they'll fall back into the old patterns of thinking and behaving that kept them trapped in the cycle of unnecessary suffering. Why does this happen? Because applying Lao Tzu's wisdom requires something our culture actively discourages: the courage to live differently from the majority. It requires the willingness to appear strange to people who live in constant turmoil when you choose serenity. It requires the strength to maintain your simplicity in a world that glorifies artificial complexity. It requires the confidence to flow with life when everyone around you is trying to force it. But you don't have to be like most people. You can be the exception. You can be one of the rare people who truly transforms knowledge into lived wisdom, who applies these principles not as rigid rules, but as a gradual and gentle return to your most authentic nature. Real transformation doesn't happen through dramatic, revolutionary changes. It happens through small, consistent adjustments that, over time, completely alter the quality of your experience. It begins when you choose to breathe consciously instead of reacting automatically. It continues when you choose to listen deeply instead of talking compulsively. It deepens when you embrace uncertainty instead of desperately fighting for control. Lao Tzu said, "He who is content is rich." This is not a condemnation of ambition or growth, but a recognition that true wealth is found in the ability to experience fulfillment regardless of external circumstances. It is the freedom to be happy without depending on everything in your life being perfect. It is the peace of knowing that you already have everything you need to live meaningfully, even as you continue to grow and evolve. Gu Hong, the Taoist alchemist, understood that the greatest alchemy is not transforming external metals, but transforming mental restlessness into inner serenity. This transformation doesn't require complicated techniques, elaborate rituals, or years of intensive study. It simply requires the willingness to apply, moment by moment, these simple yet profound truths to the daily fabric of your life. Don't adopt these ideas as intellectual concepts to impress others, or as yet another philosophy to add to your mental collection. Practice them as silent whispers that gradually reorient the way you breathe, walk, listen, and respond to the inevitable difficulties of human existence. Allow them to become less thoughts you hold, and more a way of being you naturally embody. The path of Tao is not a journey to some distant place. It is a return to what has always been here, an awakening to the wisdom your soul already carries, a reminder of how to live in harmony with the natural rhythms of existence that our modern culture has led us to forget. Today you met Lao Tzu on the roadside of your own life. You heard his 10 eternal lessons. You understood that flexibility trumps strength, that control is a liberating illusion, that emptiness possesses transformative power, that flowing is wiser than resistance, that true discipline is as soft as bamboo, that simplicity dissolves chaos, that inaction can be the most powerful action, that listening reveals more than speaking, that knowing yourself surpasses any external victory, and that returning to the essential is finding lasting peace. Now you have a choice. You can tuck these ideas away as interesting intellectual curiosities, or you can begin, gently, to allow them to transform how you breathe, how you listen, how you react when life doesn't turn out exactly as you planned. If you felt a real shift in your perspective during this video, if something within you calmed or awakened, subscribe to the channel now and turn on notifications. Not because you need more content, but because the path back to your essential nature benefits from gentle, constant reminders amid the constant noise of modernity. Share this video with someone you know who's carrying a backpack that's too heavy, someone who's trying too hard, someone who's forgotten how to find peace in simplicity. Sometimes the greatest gift we can give is to show others that there's a completely different way to live. And leave a comment sharing which of these 10 lessons resonated most with your current experience. Which one seems like exactly what you needed to hear today? Your reflection could be the light that helps another weary traveler find their way back home. Lao Tzu remains seated beneath the tree, smiling softly. He knows you carry within you everything you need to find the peace you seek. Now it's up to you to choose to trust this ancient wisdom that lives in the silence of your heart, patiently waiting to be remembered and lived. The way home has always been here. Welcome back.